They laughed when I found her texts. He's just a friend. She smirked. My own family nodding in agreement. They called me crazy. I didn't say a word. I just left. Now, 10 years later, they stood in my office, begging me to save his life. The shock. I need to get this out somewhere. Because if I say it to any of my friends, I know what they'll call me. So here I am, talking to you guys. I used to be a good person. I'm not just saying that. I genuinely believed in helping people. In compassion. In all of it. Back in 2015. When Germany opened the borders. I was all for it. I remember getting into a heated argument with my friend Marcus at a bar. He was shaking his head, saying, "You don't know who you're letting in." And I just slammed my beer down on the table. Not hard enough to break it, but enough to make my point. They're people. Marcus, I told him. My voice full of that righteous certainty only a true believer has. They're running from war. We have a duty to help. I didn't just talk the talk. Either. I went through my closets and my parents' attic, filling up bags with old coats, sweaters, and shoes. I can still picture myself in the community center, folding a small child's jacket and placing it on a pile, feeling this warmth in my chest. I thought, this is what it means to be on the right side of history. It felt so simple. The news started to change slowly. At first, it was just headlines I'd scroll past on my phone. A story here. A story there. My brain had a ready-made defense for it. Isolated incident. I think. Propaganda from the far right. Trying to scare people. It was easy to dismiss because it was always happening somewhere else. In a city I'd never been to. To people I didn't know. My mind filtered it out. The world I wanted to believe in was stronger than the headlines. I was committed to the idea that these were just the growing pains of a more compassionate society. That defense held up for years. Until one Tuesday evening. I was just zoning out. Watching TV. Scrolling through a local news site on my phone during a commercial break. And then I saw a headline. It wasn't about Berlin or Hamburg. It was about a small town just 30 kilometers away. I know the town. My aunt lives near there. I've been to the park they were talking about. The report was about a teenage girl who didn't come home. They found her the next day. The details, I don't want to write them here. But they named the suspect. A recent asylum seeker. My phone suddenly felt heavy in my hand. The low hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen seemed to get louder. It wasn't an abstract headline anymore. It wasn't somewhere else. The name of that park was a place I could picture in my head. The benches. The little duck pond. The girl could have been someone's daughter ID passed in the grocery store. In that moment, sitting alone in my quiet living room, all my self-righteous speeches and confident arguments turned to ash in my mouth. I realized, for the first time, that my belief in an idea had been completely disconnected from the potential reality of it. That was the first crack. And I feel like I've been slowly falling through it ever since. Was I just a naive idiot back then? Or am I missing something crucial now? After that night, something in my brain snapped. The filters were gone. I couldn't just dismiss the headlines anymore. I needed to know if I was crazy. If what happened in that town was a one-off tragedy or part of something bigger. That's when I started looking. I mean, really looking. My evenings changed. Instead of watching movies, I was hunched over my laptop. The blue light of the monitor painting my face in the dark. I started with mainstream German news sites, then went to European ones. Soon, I was clicking on links I knew I shouldn't. Reading uncensored police reports from other countries. Watching grainy videos on Telegram that would never be shown on TV. It was like peeling back a pleasant painting to find a wall of rot underneath. For every story of a successful, integrated family, I was finding 10 about assault, theft, or worse. Every night, I'd tell myself I'd stop. But I couldn't. It felt like I was finally seeing the full picture. The one everyone was afraid to talk about. I tried to bring it up once. With my friend Lena. We were having coffee. And she's the most open-minded person I know. I thought if anyone would understand my conflict, it would be her. I started cautiously. Hey. Did you see that article about the latest crime statistics? She just waved her hand dismissively. That's just the AfD stirring up trouble again. It's fear-mongering. I tried to push back. But Lena. I read the government report. The numbers are right there. We can't just ignore it. I'll never forget the way she looked at me. Her face hardened. What is wrong with you? You sound just like my racist uncle. She spat the word out. Racist. And just like that, the conversation was over. A door had slammed shut between us. I felt this incredible sense of loneliness. The people on my side wouldn't listen. And I sure as hell wasn't one of them. The real turning point, though, wasn't online. It was on the S-Bahn. Heading home from work a few weeks ago. The car was packed. At a stop. A group of 3 young men got on. They were big guys, laughing and talking loudly in a language I didn't recognize. They weren't doing anything wrong. Just being loud. Taking up space. But my body reacted before my brain did. My shoulders tensed up. My hand, which was resting on the pole, gripped it so tightly my knuckles went white. I found myself instinctively checking where the emergency brake was. My brain, without my permission, started pulling up files. The news articles. The grainy cell phone videos. The victim testimonials. I wasn't seeing 3 guys on a train. I was seeing suspects. I was seeing potential threats. I held my breath for 2 full stops until they got off, laughing and shoving each other out the door. As the train pulled away, I could finally breathe. But I felt this wave of nausea and shame wash over me. They hadn't even looked at me. They didn't do a single thing wrong. The threat was never in the train car. It was in my head. I realized my anger wasn't a precision tool anymore, aimed only at the guilty criminals and the politicians letting them in. It had become a sledgehammer. And in my mind, I was swinging it at anyone who looked the part. How do you fix something that's broken inside your own head? How do you stop the hate when your own mind has started building the case for it? The other day, a moving truck was parked down the street. It was there all weekend. I watched from my window as a family moved their boxes and furniture into the old Schmidt house. It was a man, a woman, and a little girl who couldn't have been more than 4. They were clearly not German. On Sunday afternoon, I was out front trimming the hedges, and the father was carrying a large potted plant toward his front door. He caught my eye from across the street. He gave a little nod and a small, tired wave. My first thought, the instant, unfiltered one that shot through my brain before I could stop it, was, what does he want? My whole body tensed. A wave of ice-cold suspicion washed over me. And then, a second later, the shame hit me like a physical blow. He was just being neighborly. He was a dad with a plant in his hands. Not a monster. But my gut, my instincts, they didn't see that. They saw a threat. I gave a weak, pathetic wave back and quickly went inside, my heart pounding. I leaned against my front door and realized the poison had gone deeper than I thought. It wasn't just a political opinion anymore. It was a reflex. My nights have gotten worse. I know I should stop, but I find myself seeking it out now. I'll open my phone, intending to watch a YouTube video about woodworking or something. And 20 minutes later, I'm scrolling through the comment section of some rage bait news article. It's always the same stuff. People even angrier than I am. Posting things that are overtly and horribly racist. Part of me is disgusted. But there's this other, darker part that feels a sick sense of validation. See? I'm not the only one. My fear isn't crazy. Each comment I read is like another drop of fuel on the fire. It feels good for a second. Like scratching an itch. But then the anger just burns hotter and I'm left feeling more empty than before. Last night, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs to get a glass of water. The house was completely dark and silent. As I passed the living room, I saw a shape in the big window that looks out onto the garden. It was my own reflection. Faint in the dark glass. I stopped and just stared. I didn't see myself. I saw a stranger. I saw the deep lines around my mouth. The permanent furrow in my brow. I looked tired. Not just physically tired, but spiritually exhausted. The person looking back at me was a hollowed-out shell, animated by nothing but a constant, simmering rage. And in that moment, I had this crushing thought. This hate, it hasn't fixed anything. It hasn't changed a single law. It hasn't brought back any of the victims. All it has done is consume me. Helpful person I used to be and left this bitter, scared stranger in his place. I don't want to be this person anymore. But I feel trapped. How do you let go of the anger and fear when you see things every day that seem to justify it? It feels like the world broke me. And I don't know how to put the pieces of my old self back together. Has anyone ever managed to climb out of a hole this deep? How do you even start?